Hey, say, can you see Coming to America? Listen, this is the franchise, and we are recording from America. And I'm the D-Train, Daniel Ehrenberg. Over there is Henry Papali. I want to say that things are changing in America, truly. I think we were ready for a sequel to Coming to America. The weather's getting warmer, Henry. The Oscar nominations have been announced. The stars will be out.
I didn't even look.
Henry didn't even look. They're worse than ever, Henry. More embarrassing than you've ever witnessed.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I didn't. Okay.
Then,
they would have to be out by now, of course. Jesus.
They were announced yesterday morning, okay?
Oh, okay, I'm not.
I am half vaccinated. Henry over there, I believe fully vaccinated at this point.
That I am.
We can soon spend time together in small gatherings indoors, maskless.
That's what the CDC said,
That's
man.
what the CDC says. Listen, so much more out there happening in America. Bachelor finished last night. I didn't watch it because I'm angry about behind-the-scenes things, Henry. Okay? What else is happening? We've got a president who makes sense when he speaks.
It's very weird. It's a strange world.
I don't know what to do when I wake up in the morning anymore. I used to check to see if we were at war or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's odd. The normalcy, the status quo is strange. It's a definitely weird feeling. There's press briefings. You know, I'm a political junkie. I wake up and there's a press briefing, and it's a normal, just someone walks out and says, "Here's what's going on." It's very odd. There's no.
Are you talking about Jen Psaki?
Yes.
Yeah,
I am. It's very interesting.
You think the carpets match the podium?
I would imagine that in that case, probably.
I suck. Hey, listen, we covered Coming to America, 1988's Coming to America. We're about to watch. I mean, we did watch it. We're about to talk about it. But listen,
I'm not about to watch it.
What you may not know about it is that this year, Amazon Prime put together a Where Are They Now reunion special of the cast of Coming to America. And interestingly, they decided to give it a narrative and call it a movie.
I didn't know where you were going with that for a second. That's very good, my friend. That's very, very, very good. Because when I thought you were serious, I was going to say, why would they do that? They just got together and kind of shot the shit.
Well, yeah,
made a movie.
That's what this is.
Yeah.
All
right. I will say it's episode 249. This is Prince H. Akeem over here. And I have to say, I didn't want to see this movie. I got to say.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, I was excited to see this.
Oh, yeah. No, I get it. I didn't want to. I wasn't. I mean, I probably eventually would have.
I was assuming I'd hear from you suggesting this for the podcast, and was surprised when I didn't, and I had to suggest it.
I guess it's because the more I didn't hear that much about it, but the more I thought about it, because I probably said something when we first heard it was coming out, but the more I was thinking about it, the more I just kind of assumed it would be a disaster. And I didn't really want to. I figured it would be something I'd pick up along the way, maybe in a couple of years.
I got swayed, Henry, for two reasons.
Okay. Oh.
All right. Because I'd seen some clips, some commercials on television for the movie, and it looked like not a real movie. Like, it looked like just a YouTube clip or something, like a fan movie or something. And I was like, that looks horrible. But maybe it's just poorly marketed, Henry. Because sure. I had two reasons to feel good about this movie, okay?
All right.
One, Eddie Murphy came back to SNL last year, okay? I didn't watch it.
I did.
By all accounts, he was engaged and he was trying.
He absolutely was.
Okay.
Not always successful, but he was very engaged.
I did watch the Mr. Robinson sketch eventually. It was okay.
Yeah.
But what was more intriguing to me was around that time when he went on SNL, he had been saying in 2020 he was going to go on a stand-up tour, Henry. And he hasn't done stand-up since literally the fucking 80s. And so I was very intrigued by that and saw it as maybe a sea change in the way Eddie Murphy's looking at his career. Maybe he's in for one last run of greatness.
Right.
Okay?
I get it. I mean, I get it. The stand-up I have been excited about for a long time, and I'll confess I still am if it
He says that it's happening. He says once COVID's done, he still has every intention of going on tour to do stand-up.
All right. Well, I don't see how that'll be bad. I don't.
I mean, he's got to watch those gay slurs, but it could be good.
But that's why, because he's not gonna do that. I feel
we say that sometimes and then are surprised. I said that about Roseanne when she got her show back, and I was very quickly surprised.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't know. I feel like Eddie has had some humbling experiences, even though he doesn't appear to be a humble man.
Okay, and I had that thought as well, Henry. On top of that, we have new director Craig Brewer replacing departed child murderer John Landis. And Craig...
He just murder children. Right? You might want to encompass more there.
Oh, and Vic Morrow? Beheaded, of course.
Adults... crew members, there's a lot going on there.
I just felt like I should mention the women and children that he murdered first, as is custom. Yeah. Okay. So new director Craig Brewer, I have a lot of time for this guy, Henry. I recently went back and rewatched Hustle and Flow, and that movie is fucking great.
A movie I've never seen.
It's great. You'd like it. Terrence Howard's awesome.
Not really sure why I didn't see it at the time, but I didn't. But I've never heard a bad word about it. I also did not see Dolomite Is My Name.
I didn't see that either. Another thing that intrigued me, because Murphy worked with him on that. Although Murphy does have this tendency of like, I only work with people I've been forced to work with before. It's like if he has any agency on a project, he just picks a director that has previously been assigned to him by the studio. Either pick a new guy or just accept the studio assigns you directors you like.
Well, I always thought, too, that it might not just be that. I really always thought it was kind of like, since his reputation has always been a little bit difficult, I always thought that once he kind of met someone he meshed with personally, he didn't mind repeating the process.
No, that's what I'm saying. But he always goes with someone who was thrust upon him previously in a studio setting.
Yeah, like, who did Tower Heist? He did a couple of things with that fella, right?
Brett Ratner?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, remember he was supposed to host the Oscars that year until Brett Ratner said that the Oscars were too faggy.
That's correct. Right. But didn't he know Ratner, or is it just Tower Heist? That's all they did
I think just Tower Heist. I think he was forced to do Tower Heist by the studio and then liked Ratner. This is what happens to him, man.
Yeah.
Landis was thrust upon him in Beverly Hills Cop, and he chose him for the first Coming to America movie.
Martin Brest did Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh, that's what I meant. What did he do? Oh, I meant, what's the other?
Place.
That's what I meant, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. H-Dog, Trading Places, right, of course. They're all the same. He does the laugh, puts a banana in the tailpipe.
Hey.
They're all good. What? Even some of the characters from Trading Places are in this fucking movie.
That's right.
All right. Henry, so Craig Brewer. And I love Black Snake Moan as well.
I've only seen parts of that movie.
I bet you have. What website did you watch those clips on?
I remember when that movie came out, it was like all this controversy. Ooh, did you see Black Snake Moan? It's really controversial.
I saw it before I saw Hustle and Flow, and I remember seeing the trailer and going like, "This is either misogynistic, racist, or both," and I can't tell what. And then I watched the movie and I was like, "No, it's just good."
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the first one. before we get into the reunion special. Coming to America was directed by John Landis, noted murderer and sometime filmmaker. So we've talked about him before. He got his start in the 70s. He always had a terrible beard that makes him look like a child molester. He did Kentucky Fried Movie, then Animal House really pushed him over the edge, then Blues Brothers, huge hit. He was really on the ascent. He did American Werewolf in London, which was a little bit of a sidestep for him and probably the best thing he's ever made. All right? Then he does Trading Places with Eddie, which is a huge hit for him and one of Eddie's best movies. He does the Thriller video for Michael Jackson, which is one of the biggest things ever. They were still showing that on a weekly basis on MTV when I was a kid. Twilight Zone, the movie. That's where everything goes wrong. He directs a horrible segment in that movie, the worst of the 4 segments that is about 100 times more racist than anything in Black Snake Moan. And
I don't think it's the worst segment. I think
of course it's the worst segment. What's worse?
The Spielberg
The
segment.
Spielberg segment is so much better. And it sucks.
I disagree.
And it sucks. Okay? Both of them are based on segments from the original series. Spielberg, at least, it's a good original episode. So his segment retains some of the bits from that. The Landis segment, come on, man. What, doesn't it have blackface and shit?
I don't.
Isn't it about like a Japanese guy? It's like a black soldier.
He's the racist, Vic Morrow, and he gets flung into situations that are all with.
But doesn't he get turned into a minority?
But you don't see. They don't make him up like that.
I believe that they do.
He stays the same. He's still a white guy. They see him as that.
I'm not certain about that, but either way, it's not great.
Well,
Definitely in the original segment on the original Twilight Zone, they for sure do Asian face.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
All right. They don't do that in the remake. It's just him. But anyway.
All right. Well, it was the last thing he ever did because John Landis chopped his head off with a helicopter blade and called kids to work in the middle of the night and killed them too. So he left a trail of dead bodies behind him. Never cut that beard. Still looked like a child molester. He kept working, but his movies started tanking. Into the Night, tanked. Spies Like Us, it's remembered fondly, but it tanked. Three Amigos, hey, you remember it aired on Comedy Central every day. It tanked at the time.
I forgot he did Spies Like Us, and boy, he's done some great comedies. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry to say.
All right, so Eddie plucks him from obscurity. Eddie's like, I once knew this bearded freak.
All right, so you want me to find this now. Okay.
And he has really fallen on hard times as he murdered children. I don't understand. So Eddie chooses him to direct Coming to America. He did not come to John Landis's rescue at all in court. He refused to speak on his behalf. Thankfully, it makes me like Eddie Murphy more. And but still went ahead and hired him for this movie, even though he admits in the quote Henry's about to read that they didn't get along.
Right. So here's what Eddie said about working with John Landis on Coming to America. We had a tussling confrontation. We didn't come to blows. Personalities didn't mesh. He directed me in Trading Places when I was just starting out as a kid, but he was still treating me like a kid 5 years later during Coming to America. And I hired him to direct the movie! Exclamation point.
Sounds like they're both being egotistical little pricks here, by the way.
Well, I was going to direct Coming to America myself, but I knew that Landis had just done 3 fucked up pictures in a row and that his career was hanging by a thread after the Twilight Zone trial. I figured the guy was nice to me when I did Trading Places, so I'd give him a shot. I was going out of my way to help this guy, and he fucked me over. Now he's got a hit picture on his resume, a movie that made over $200 million, as opposed to him coming off a couple of fucked up movies, which is where I'd rather see him be right now.
Well, I mean, it is where he is right now. Can I... Whoa. Oh, sorry, I got a text from my dad. It was distracting. Listen, why did he hire him back for Beverly Hills Cop 3? That is what is confusing to me here.
Right. It doesn't. I don't have an explanation
There's
for that.
no explanation for it.
No. And Landis said about Eddie.
Also, I just want to say, like, we're not ever going to get the whole truth from Eddie Murphy, because, like, it's Eddie Murphy in 1988. If he wanted to direct Coming to America, he would have.
He could have. Yeah. He could have and would have.
He probably should have, because it would have given him a longer rope on Harlem Nights.
That's a good point. Because we all know how that turned out, unfortunately.
Yeah, it turned into a really fucking good movie that nobody saw.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie, I think, in almost 30 years, so I was a kid.
Kicks ass. He kills a woman with his dick inside of her in that movie.
It's great stuff.
I'm not saying that's what makes the movie great, but it's a pretty wild scene.
I want to see Red Fox.
He's incredible in that movie.
I'm sure he is.
Yeah.
Richard Pryor. I want to see that.
Also really good. You would guess that he's about to die, but you'd be like, oh, he's still great.
Yeah. He still has quite a few years left in him.
When did he die? 94, 95?
Oh, he's in Lost Highway, for Christ's sakes. He's
So
97.
what? That's 96. What, you're acting like I'm insane. I was 2 years
97. No. He died in like 98 or 99. He had almost a decade left.
off. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Landis is our director. He followed this up with Oscar, so I'm glad that he was right back on track in blowing a fucking piece of shit. Followed that up with Innocent Blood, Beverly Hills Cop 3, and The Stupids, and it was over, baby. He did Blues Brothers 2000 also. Okay.
Right.
John Landis. He spent that time making his worst creation, Max Landis, I suppose.
What has Max Landis given us now?
Horrible comments about women, mostly.
Oh, okay.
And Chronicle. Okay.
Well, it's a good movie.
Okay.
The Landis family does know how to weave a film.
I don't care. They shouldn't be allowed anywhere near a camera except in their own fucking backyard filming whatever relatives are getting injured.
Their treehouse for their kids.
Yeah.
Collapse. Fire hazards. That's a dangerous household.
Hey, kid, you just climb that, put the last nail up there for us?
Dad, can I use the lighter up here? Just make sure you only have a minimum amount of rocket fuel, son.
You know John Landis has a fixer that is just on call to hide any children Landis might murder.
Yeah, it's a remarkable case of Hollywood people getting away with shit, man. He ended up just settling out of court, paying the family.
It's the worst ever, I think.
It's amazing. It's pretty bad.
Landis should still be, I genuinely believe this. John Landis in 2021 should still be in prison for what happened on the Twilight Zone movie.
Yeah, it's an odd coating of cellophane that we have such immunity, which is still around, but it's breaking down.
It's definitely breaking down, which is nice.
Yeah. I mean, back then, someone would have filmed that with a cell phone. That would have been over.
Oh, my God. Eddie Murphy would have been canceled for even hiring Landis back for this movie.
Yeah.
All right. The writers of Coming to America, which include a story credit by Eddie Murphy, even though he was later sued for plagiarism and defeated.
Yeah, but I read that. That was kind of bullshit. Some guy had an idea of a guy coming to...
No. Some guy wrote a screenplay in 1982 and Paramount purchased it.
Correct. That's right.
Okay. And then Eddie Murphy has an idea for an identical screenplay?
It's not identical, though.
This seemed to have merit to me.
You should have been a prosecutor.
I just mean, like, the fact that it's fine if you want to give Eddie Murphy a story by credit for this movie, but really, after all of that, you're going to give him a characters created by credit in the sequel? I'm sorry.
No, I don't know. All right.
Okay. David Sheffield and Barry W. Blaustein are the writing team involved in the making of this film. They've been working together for ages, and they also wrote the new movie, or worked on it. They got their start on the classic Police Academy 2, Their First Assignment, one of the 3 Police Academy films I've seen.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. I've seen the first 2 and the 7th one, Mission to Moscow.
I feel like I saw the first 5 when I was a kid.
I feel like I might have seen Assignment Miami Beach at some point, but I don't recall.
I don't know. I those days are hazy. I loved them when I was a kid. You know, I loved them.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but I mean,
They're
I
still
can't.
funny.
Are they?
I watched the first one probably 2 years ago, Henry.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that movie's not funny. It's funny.
Laughed.
Yeah, I laughed a bunch.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Kim Cattrall.
Yeah, sure. Samantha.
Steve
I love fucking. It's my Cattrall, based on Claudio O'Doherty's Cattrall. Hey, listen, so these guys, Sheffield and Blaustein, went on to do a lot of Eddie Murphy stuff, Henry. They wrote Coming to America, Boomerang. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty bad.
I don't like.
The Nutty Professor and The Nutty Professor to the Clumps, because Eddie Murphy was like, these guys know how to write me in makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, he stuck with them a while.
Do you think they wrote Hercules? Do you think they put pen to paper and then sat back and went like, he'll make that funny?
I don't know. It's hard to tell sometimes. It's hard to tell in this movie what, you know, if they wrote a lot of these lines.
Oh, they wrote all the lines. Are you kidding me? Eddie Murphy is checked out on improvisation in this movie.
In the first Coming to America?
He's not. He's acting. It's a real performance, and he's good in the movie.
He's phenomenal in the movie.
But in we watched Beverly Hills Cop and 2 for the show.
Yeah.
And like he is on fire in those movies. Like he is throwing everything at the wall. And in this movie, I feel like he's genuinely just like sitting back. Like I feel like Arsenio Hall has more jokes in this movie than Eddie Murphy. No one has ever been more confident in Arsenio Hall's comedic talent than Eddie Murphy was in the making of this movie.
Well, that's a true statement. But I never got the impression that Eddie was sitting back. I can't speak to the improvisation. I don't know. I mean, all those lines in the barbershop and all that stuff.
The barbershop is different. Yeah, he's definitely putting on a show in the barbershop.
Well, that's what I'm sorry, that I should have specified. I'm referring to like when he's in those makeup characters like Randy Watson. I'm not talking about him as Hakeem. I doubt that he's because he's also doing something very different.
Yeah, he's stepping back, I think. It's a much more subtle performance. He's trying to just be likable and nice and letting Arsenio carry the comedic weight, which I would have told him bad idea, but Arsenio's pretty great in this first movie.
Arsenio Hall is amazing too. I liked your Letterboxd review, which I'm very intrigued about getting into, where you wrote we're not going to get there yet, but you wrote 6-way tie for MVP.
I have a 6-way tie for MVP for this first Coming to America movie. I wanted to
guess.
I'm happy to have you guess because I put it out to the Discord and nobody got it exactly. James Davis, the great James Davis from England, got 4, and that was the closest. That was impressive.
Can I just guess right now?
Yes. I'll tell you. Let me tell you one thing. 5 of them are actors. Actors, not characters.
Yeah,
and one of them is behind the scenes.
Okay. All right. And you're not including, you wouldn't do this. I already thought about this. You wouldn't include multiple characters by one actor in the 6. Okay. So your 6 are Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall.
Do you want me to say yes or no as you go?
Oh, okay. sure. Eddie Murphy.
Yes, Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall are two of the names.
Frankie Faison.
No, but he's great.
John Amos.
John Amos, of course, is a third name.
Okay, I've got 3 of them. Eric LaSalle.
Eric LaSalle, number 4.
Okay. Then that means there's only one actor left. You didn't give it to
Think
Frankie
about
Faison.
me. Think about me.
Well, I am.
Yeah.
That's how I came up with Eric LaSalle.
Sure. ER's Eric LaSalle showed up.
Yeah,
Put
yeah.
on a clinic, baby.
I am thinking about you, and I feel like you're hot and cold with female lead actresses in romantic comedies, and I feel like you could go either way on this one. But
Sherry Headley.
Yeah, I'm gonna say if you didn't pick Frankie Faison, it's either Sherry Headley or James Earl Jones.
No, you're
And
incorrect. You're incorrect. I love Sherry Headley, by the way. I think she's perfect for this movie. I do think that the movie has zero interest in women. It would be nice, frankly, considering the plot of this movie is like, I want a woman with like agency and thoughts to maybe learn more about some of her thoughts and agency.
Well, okay. Still trying to... He's like a fucking preacher. James Earl Jones.
No.
Okay, then I got 4 of them.
You got 4.
Said, behind the scenes, you're not going to give it to Landis because you hate him so much.
James Davis got my behind the scenes one. I'll tell you that.
Behind the scenes?
Mm-hmm.
I thought you'd give it to the dog or something, but I don't know.
There's a dog in this movie?
Behind the scenes. Well, I still had one actor to go, but I guess you're not going to give it to Louis Anderson.
Anderson, that's number 5, baby.
Oh, come on.
Hilarious.
That's silly.
But you have to think of me. I love Louis Anderson.
Yeah, all right.
By the way,
one I am
that
about.
was my happiest moment in watching the sequel, was realizing that they got Louis Anderson to come back.
My happiest of your 6, I'm just extremely glad you put John Amos in there, and we'll talk about him in a little bit.
John Amos is on motherfucking fire in this movie. I think to me, he's the obvious choice for MVP.
Yeah. I don't think he's the obvious. I think he's the underrated choice and the unsung.
You know, I would have said that, except our listeners on Letterboxd. I follow all our listeners that follow me. And
me too.
I read at least 3 that specifically pointed out John Amos.
It's true. I was happy to read that as well.
We have
he's
smart
always
listeners.
Yeah, we do. He's always been. Well, I'm just gonna say right now, he made me laugh more than anybody else.
Yo, I've been rewatching The West Wing, and he's like Admiral Fitzwallace on that show. He's like the head of the military, and so. And I just watched the episode where they killed him off. It's a really sad fucking episode. And it's like in my head, like I forgot he ever did comedy. And here he is in this movie, hilarious.
He's a good dude too. When my mom used to teach in the 90s in Englewood, New Jersey, incidentally where Eddie Murphy had a house for many, many, many years, and I think still does. John Amos came to her school a couple times to talk to the kids and just like give them guidance and stuff. And it was a very poor school, and he knew they needed help. He's a decent dude.
Is
and
he
when
okay?
I heard that, I guess I don't know. He
doesn't look great in this new movie.
Oh, he's got to be. I didn't look up his age, but he's got to be in his 80s.
He looks perilously thin to me.
Yeah. But I just remember, like, when I heard that, I was a teenager. When my mom was doing that, and I had my family friends in Englewood too, and I would not let that go. I was just like, John Amos, John Amos came to your school, and everybody's like, "Why are you so excited about John Amos?" I'm
Yeah.
like, "Because it's coming to America." That's all I know.
I got excited when I was a kid. My mom was a teacher in Jamaica, Queens, and they had Jam Master Jay come to the school before he died, and that was like mind blowing to me. Holy shit! From Run DMC.
Sure. So wait, so who's your behind the scenes? I really wouldn't. Oh, wait a second. All right, Rick Baker.
No, Rick Baker, get out of here.
You're not gonna pick the
With his
screenwriters.
pancake makeup. Listen.
You're not gonna pick screenwriters.
No, can I just tell you?
Yeah, I'm at a loss.
It's Nile Rodgers.
Oh,
The
good,
music
of course.
in this movie is incredible.
Of
And
course.
I'm not just talking about
Stupid.
the
That was stupid.
incredible songs, including Soul Glow and To Love a Woman, or whatever that song's called. They're both fucking hilarious, like amazing songs. Like if digital shorts on SNL were a thing in the 80s and they put those on, they would have been huge. But whatever, they work perfectly in the context of the movie. The Soul Glow thing is endlessly funny. I laugh every time that song comes on. And I laugh every time you see Eric LaSalle and his wet-ass Jerry curl. And I think Nile Rodgers is so funny. And then because of the songs, like maybe for the first time ever watching this movie, I was actually paying attention to the score. And the score is really good.
Hilarious. The score itself is hilarious. It's very, very good. It's tender when it's sweet. It's funny. And he wrote, of course, She's Your Queen, which unfortunately for me, I couldn't get out of my head and still had in this morning, and it was extremely annoying, but it's still in my head. Paul Bates yelping that
Yeah, I
song.
didn't need that in the second movie again.
I didn't need a lot of things in the second movie that were in the first, but that She's Your Queen, I did read that Nile Rodgers said that was his proudest composition he ever wrote, which makes me believe he's a cool guy. But also, I know he's a cool guy because I partied and drank with them in
I know you
2010.
did. Yeah. Yeah, how'd you not think of him, man? That guy's... Did you tell him that you think Coming to America is awesome when you met him?
I'm embarrassed to say I'm not sure if I knew he wrote the music for that one.
Oh, boy. You would have been even more fucking pumped.
Oh, I would have been that would have been insane. Well, I would have brought...
But maybe that's good, Henry. You acted like a normal person around Nile Rodgers, and maybe you wouldn't have otherwise.
No, I absolutely wouldn't have. I would have fucking flipped out. Coolest dude, one of the best celebrities I've ever met. And we did, when I say, like, you know, those events, sometimes we'd go to those things. Dan knows this, and you really wouldn't see anyone. They'd be like, oh, yeah, come to this thing, and you'd never interact.
No, Henry went out with Nile Rodgers afterwards. It was weird.
We were hanging out at the Tribeca Grand Hotel, and we drank the most expensive vodka I've ever had in my life, and we just, like, bullshitted. It was fucking awesome. He was such a cool dude. Very cool.
Well, he's
Anyway.
an MVP contender.
That's a great call, and I should have thought of that, yeah.
All right.
Well, I got 4 of them.
I want to say we going back to the screenwriters.
Yeah, we got to get going here.
Yeah, just to mention, I mean, Blaustein did have a small directing career separate from David Sheffield, and it's interesting to talk about. I mean, he directed that wrestling documentary we've talked about so many times, Beyond the Mat.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah, he quit screenwriting, I guess. I don't know. He still worked, though, as a screenwriter, I think, because they did shit they wrote that Honeymooners movie with Cedric the Entertainer.
All right. Well,
But he directed Beyond the Mat, and he directed that Johnny Knoxville Special Olympics comedy, The Ringer.
that sounds great.
I've seen it. It's great. Mm-hmm. You'll be checking that out.
Big John
Henry,
Snell fan over there.
if The Ringer with Johnny Knoxville is ever on TV, promise me you'll watch some of it.
All right.
Okay.
Well, you didn't order me to seek it out.
No, it's like you gotta
I can
see
put
to
it on.
believe kind of a thing.
Okay.
All right. This movie came out June 29th, 1988, an enormous summer release on a budget very high for the 80s of $36 million. Eddie Murphy was paid $8 million plus 15% of grosses. And John Landis was paid $600,000 plus 10% of the grosses. The movie ended up making $350 million at the box office. It was number 3 for 1988. And boy, I have the top 5 movies of 1988 here, and 4 of them are comedies. And that feels great.
Boy, that's nice.
That had never happened today. I'd love to someday live in a world again where the top 4 movies in the country are comedies. I mean, it's not the number 1. Number 1's an outlier. It's an Oscar movie. You want to guess? We haven't done that game in a while.
Sure. Well, number 1 is an outlier, and it's an Oscar movie, you said. So I'm going to just say, is it Rain Man?
It is Rain Man. Rain Man was the number 1 movie of 1988 in America.
Okay. Oh boy, I'm going to be weaker on the comedies, even though I've seen all of them.
You've seen every single one of these movies, yeah.
Oh, geez. Give me some help.
All right, number 1. Oh, wait, okay, I'll take it from number 5. Number 5's a real two-hander, Henry. It's 2 comedy stars. One's this. It's a onesie, Henry. You love a onesie. One's this guy, one's this guy. All right?
Oh, is this Twins?
It is Twins. You're right.
Boy, that wasn't going to be my first one. I have another guess, but that's no way. My other guess is not going to be up there.
All right, number 4 is a comedy. It's got magic in it, okay? It's got a star actor who's still one of the top actors today. His film, his 2020 movie was nominated for Best Sound yesterday at the Oscars because it's a war movie. It was its only nomination.
Okay, big.
That is correct. You're doing great.
Those were very cool hints. I got Tom Hanks out of that entire thing there. Yeah, and what's he nominated for? That Greyhound thing?
Yeah, Greyhound nominated for Best Sound because it's a war movie, Henry.
As
we know, you can use use my Apple Plus account.
Can't do it.
Why not?
Because I can't get access to it. We've had this discussion.
What are you talking about?
Non-Apple people.
Oh, right. You're not an Apple person. Okay. You know what I figured out something? I have a theory about Apple versus Android. Is this Monopoly the place for that?
I don't care.
Okay.
Sure.
I believe that Android people are more likely to be Republicans, Henry, because they believe that
I disagree with that.
Keep big government out of it. I want to make sure everything happens myself. I want total control over this. This should be the people's choice. Whereas Apple is for liberals, where it's telling you, we're going to make everything real simple for you. We're going to help you out. And then from there on, you go off on your business.
Interesting. So, if I may pose something else.
Go ahead.
I don't believe anything you said or what I'm about to say, but since we're having fun, I believe it's the opposite. Apple people have no problem believing in a singular leader, therefore, aka cult, monopolistic business practices, which is a very Republican theory going back to William McKinley 125 years ago. Mm-hmm. And they have no problem following something that only allows one view of one thing. It's very narrow. Apple people are also kind of assholes sometimes about other people's phones. They don't just want to let other people live in peace.
Because we're smarter. We're more like, because like Androids, they're like anti-maskers. We don't understand what you're doing.
Right. We Android people, we don't really care that much about phones in the first place, so we therefore don't give a shit. And
that's right. They're dumb. It's like the Republicans. It's like they think they know things, but they're actually much stupider than everybody else, and they use that. They use that as a strength. Like, oh, hey, I don't know. I just know less.
and like the Apple people, they just they came out with Apple.
Yeah.
So we'll just follow whatever they do. Whatever Apple does, we'll do it. We'll follow no matter what till the end of time. Until Apple goes under.
I think you're you're the opposite. It's like Android people believe in intelligent design. Like it's built already. Whereas Apple users, we believe in
have a god in the
we
shape
don't
of,
have a god.
in the shape
No.
of an apple.
Shut the fuck up.
You have no free thought at all. You worship Apple, the company, the people, the products, and when they go under,
free thought. They're not going under.
Because they're going to get busted on antitrust laws. They are going to be under and over.
Oh, really? Oh, they have a monopoly, huh? So where's your Apple? Show me your iPhone.
They're going to be gone. Oh, my Android will be gone soon enough. The only product you will ever be able to buy are Apple products soon. And that, my friend, is Orwellian Republican politics right there. Freedom of choice.
No, that's just the market bearing out what the people want.
Very capitalist.
I know, that is very capitalist of me to say.
You gotta talk politics with the big dog, buddy. You better get ready. Get the gloves on. Because I'm wearing 12-inch boxing gloves.
12-inch boxing gloves?
Not yesterday. I'm not sure
that's too much room for your fingers in there, Henry.
I just read that Marvelous Marvin Hagler died a couple days ago, and I was reading about boxing glove thickness.
Marvelous What are we talking about?
You don't know who Marvin Hagler was?
No.
You're a sports nut. You gotta know
Marvin
who he is.
Hagler.
He's like the greatest middleweight who ever lived.
Who are you? One of these guys in the barbershop?
I could be. Marvin Hagler.
You're the fucking Jew who only wants to talk about the white boxers.
He's black, you idiot.
What are you talking about?
Marvin Hagler.
Oh, Marvin. What, I'm supposed to know that from the name Marvin, that he's a black guy?
Oh my God, you're unbelievable.
I don't know who this is.
Okay.
I know Muhammad Ali. I know Cassius Clay. Those are my two favorite boxers.
That's the same person.
I know, idiot. It was a joke. All right. This has been fun. H-Dog.
He thinks I'm the Jewish guy because I'm a Philo-Semite. Do you know what a Philo-Semite is?
No, I was sneezing. I didn't even hear what you said. What's a Philo-Semite?
It's the opposite of an anti-Semite.
I don't know. You like an awful lot of Nazis to be a
Philo-Semite.
Uh-huh. All right.
I realized that recently.
All right. I'm just Jewish.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Can we talk about the couple of awards that Coming to America was nominated for?
It's one of the weirdest shows we've ever done, but for some reason I'm having a good time. I don't know.
We've still covered shit.
I was learning about Dan's recent political awakening. I like it. It's interesting.
I don't have political way. I'd love to close my eyes to everything. It's just, you're confronted no matter where you go. I can't even watch The fucking Bachelor anymore without dealing with politics.
Come to me and I'll teach you some stuff.
I don't want to know. I'm like an Android user. Okay, the Oscars.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. Wow. It'd be great if we got to the movie. I do have other stuff to do today. Here we go. Ooh.
Oscars, it's the red carpet, it's the red carpet and the gowns and the tuxes. The Oscars, it's the big night for Hollywood, the red carpet and the golden man.
That's right. The stars will be out soon. We're going to give the Oscar to one of the 8 nominated well-meaning 3-star movies. Okay. All right. Coming to America was nominated for 2 Oscars. It was one of them was Best Makeup for your pal Rick Baker. And he lost, I would say a very deserving loss to the great Beetlejuice, which has some of my favorite makeup effects of any movie.
Yeah, but the makeup in this movie is phenomenal.
No,
dude.
it's great. I'm not talking shit. I even think it looks good in the new one. Although, I got to say, one, did we need the barbershop guys in the new one?
I know.
Did we? They'd definitely be dead.
No.
It's like a little too much belief suspending or something for me. But
Well, yet? I mean, yeah.
and here's the other thing. He's in Jew face.
Now.
It's 20 because and you know what? It's okay because it's Jew face. I'm telling you. I've talked about this on the podcast so much. Hollywood can do anything to Jews. It doesn't fucking matter. Are you kidding me? You put anyone in blackface in a movie today, no one will watch that movie. It will lose distribution. It'll never see the light of fucking day, no matter how much money is put into it. It's going to be like that fucking Louis C.K. movie, I Love You, Daddy. You have to seek that shit out on the dark web to watch it. All right?
I think you're right about that. I think that there's a few cultures that it's still completely okay to...
No, there's one,
mimic.
Jews.
No, I agree with you on that 100%. But I also think I have to say it's still totally fine to make fun of Italians and make them look like fucking pizza slinging assholes. That's all that they ever contributed to society. It totally is a thing.
But
it's just not as frequent. But I mean, if
you're not a race, it's a nationality. Like, you could watch any number of Italian movies that treat Italian people as serious people and are great. Like, they have a thriving film industry in Italy. I mean, there's no movie. Every movie about Jews is just this shit. Or Nazis.
Yeah.
Or Seth Rogen, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it is bizarre that it's accepted. You know, I think that is also because of just a total ignorance and historical ignorance, which I don't want to get into it too much here, but you and me have encountered people who really can't even like understand or face or even talk about the Holocaust without understanding, like thinking that it's a boring topic to discuss. Mm-hmm. Like it's very strange, and to a certain degree,
it's not interesting anymore. Nazis are back, Henry.
Yeah, well, that's true, but no, I just think that's to certain racist people or ignorant people. I think Jewish people are still like fucking. They're considered like alien. An
NBA
crazy
player recently used the word kike on a video game stream. He got like a slap on the wrist. I mean, that's the equivalent of the N-word for a Jew.
Wow. He got away with that?
He got away with it. Nick Cannon, his show's starting up again soon after he, basically said Jews control money or whatever.
My. Wow. Yeah,
I mean, it's a disgusting world, and I don't need to in 20. I can go back and watch Coming to America, a 1988 movie, and appreciate that things were different back then, and I can laugh at Eddie Murphy doing this. In 2021, in a world where Nazis are overrunning the Capitol building, I maybe don't need to see Eddie Murphy in Jew face.
Yeah,
doing new classic Jew bits.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. You're right. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're 100% right. I do think that there's other cultures, but the ones that are totally alienated, they're not treated like Jewish people. That's for sure. They're not discriminated against like that at all.
Yeah, it's just fine to shit on us.
Yep.
We're shit to you people.
Hey, oh.
To you Gentiles.
Hey. Not to me.
All right. What's that word you like to say? What'd you come up with earlier?
I taught you a new
Demi-Jew? What was it?
Oh, Philo-Semite. It's somebody
Philo-Semite.
It's someone who admires and has a great deal of like has had a great deal of like.
That's creepy. That's like dudes that have like Asian fetishes.
It's not a fetish. It's just like
you do have a Jew fetish. You've dated a lot of Jews.
Yeah, and it's just like the authors I read, the director and the people I've been, I've been to a lot of like, I just, it's a culture that I really admire. That's all.
It's because you're anxious. All right.
Are you saying that back deep in my ancestry?
I think you
there's some-
relate. No, I think you just relate to us because you have a high level of anxiety.
Probably it could definitely put a high level of neuroticism.
Yeah. All right. This movie was nominated for a second Oscar, Henry, Best Costume Design. It lost to Dangerous Liaisons. The second best version of that tale, of course, after Cruel
I have to
Intentions.
see that again. That's been a very long time.
It's a good movie. All right, KCA's, baby. Can you believe it's 1988 and we're about to talk about the Kids' Choice Awards? I had no idea they were around that long.
I thought that was a 2000s thing.
No, it was around when I was a kid, but I thought it started in the 90s.
I didn't know.
It's the Kids' Choice Awards. It's KCA. KCA to you, but it's the kids making the choice, making the choice, making the choice, yeah.
Oh, the kids made a choice in 1988, gang. They nominated for Eddie Murphy for Best Actor for his role in Coming to America. And he lost to the great Arnold Schwarzenegger for Twins.
Oh, sure. That was a better performance.
It's a pretty good performance.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, man? Twins is a good movie.
I mean, I loved it when I was 11.
I think it holds up. You know,
Does it?
I recently
I believe you.
went ahead and rewatched both Twins and Junior, Henry.
I've never seen Junior, and I never will.
All right, Twins was mind-blowing because it's like, wow, this is actually good. How is that possible? And then Junior was so bad that I now don't believe Ivan Reitman was a talented filmmaker.
I think he just shot his wad
I
very
don't-
early in his career.
I wonder if he just got unbelievable luck of collaborators. Just the pick
Oh,
of Hollywood.
That's possible. That's possible.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
He caught Murray on the way up. I mean, he caught Ramis, you know.
Yeah, he caught Ramis. All right, his star was burning bright. Harold Ramis. All right, so let's talk about Coming to America. We start in Zamunda, which is an African nation. In many ways, I was starting to realize that Coming to America is kind of a comedic Black Panther.
I had the same thought.
It's just a fake African nation with like an aristocracy set up.
If you take Landis out of the picture, it's kind of an all African American production.
Yeah, frankly, the sequel probably should have been directed by a black guy.
I kind of was surprised that it wasn't, to be honest. But I'm
yeah, Craig Brewer, Dolomite, and Coming to America back to back.
He's
And
a
Hustle and Flow.
Philo-African.
It seems like he is a philo Afro-American. Yes, definitely.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Better than being an anti.
I guess. All right. What do you want to talk about? We're immediately set up to some of our great cast. Garcelle Boveus Nilsson shows up. Paul Bates as Oha. You think that guy's funny?
Oh,
He looks
Extremely.
funny. It's a funny look.
it's a funny look. He delivers I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, the whole opening is great. You know, it's one of those movies where you take some other movies, I think, comedies and dramas or whatever kind of movie you're going to make can take lessons from, where it takes an exposition, but it sets things up quickly, efficiently, and gets you out to the main part of the story within a very short period of time.
Not
and
short
doesn't have-
enough. My impulse is to.
I don't think it has any fat on it. I don't think this movie has any fat.
I kind of don't either. Like, I agree with you. I wouldn't have cut anything in Zamunda, but I was surprised how long it took to get to America. I wrote it down, actually. 23 minutes in, we're in America. That's a lot of setup time in Zamunda.
Well, when you say it like that with 23 minutes, but it didn't feel like that to me. I would have guessed probably 15 if you had to have me guess. It didn't feel like that, and I like the stuff in Zamunda. I wasn't like aching to get out. You know,
I was a little bit, but not excessively. Maybe I've seen this movie a lot, so the stuff I remember is mostly like I put this movie on and I'm waiting to get to McDowell's.
Yeah, the Golden Arcs. I had seen it a lot, but I haven't seen it in a really, really long time. And I don't think I ever. No, I never owned the DVD. I had the video, so it's probably been. Fuck.
I never owned it, but it was on television all the time, dude. Like way more than any of the other movies.
You're absolutely right about that, and I couldn't watch it on television. It's unwatchable because it's a PG version for television.
I definitely watched the PG version about 100 times before I ever saw this.
I understand. You're younger than me. It came up probably on TV a lot when you were a kid. I couldn't, by that point, I could not tolerate the PG version. It was terrible. But
I mean, it's not a super profane movie. Like,
no, but
Trading Places and Beverly Hills Cop are way harder R's than this.
Oh yeah. But it's got. It has nudity.
What, you need the boobs? You can't sit through this movie without the boobs?
I like unnecessary cuts.
I bet.
There's no nudity. There's not,
Don't hang out with a 16-year-old girl.
I don't get it.
It was a cutting joke. I'm sorry.
Jesus.
What? I'm not allowed to joke about that? Unnecessary cuts.
You can joke about whatever you want. I ain't the barometer.
Okay.
You're usually the barometer. Joe, say whatever you want on this show. Yeah, so we get to New York. It's great.
Who's listening?
Sound like Bob Uecker in Major League. I hope he's listening anyway. I love, by the way, I just want to say I love that we can't even get like a real set for the opening shot of the Palace of Zamunda in this movie. It's complete. I never noticed ever.
Oh, yeah, it's totally a matte painting.
It's matte, yeah.
And frankly, looks better than the sequel.
Yeah, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. And then we get a fake British Airways plane. I love that too.
Wait, is that fake? I thought that was product placement.
It could have been, but it was like a totally unnecessary shot, hilariously.
But that's why I think it was product placement, because it was a weird exterior shot of a plane for no reason.
No reason at all. Yeah. And the second we get to New York, it's awesome. Like the second they get to the airport.
They go to Queens, which is a cute joke. He's looking for the woman of his dreams.
Great cap.
Do you have any problems with the woman doing the dog voice, being a dog?
Yeah, it's
I kind of don't have an issue with it in this one, just because like the whole premise of the movie is like Prince Akeem wants to find a woman with substance, and so like it helps to like show what the other option is. But boy, in the sequel, and I know I'm bringing up the sequel too much, but when they bring back that character and it is implied that because he told her to bark like a dog in 1988, she has been barking like a dog for the last 30 years.
I know.
It is like one of the saddest, creepiest, weirdest jokes I've ever seen in a movie.
It's extremely disturbing. I had the exact same thought. And it's kind of one of those things where when you watch the first movie, because there's no sequel, you're kind of like, oh, well, that's a good gag, and obviously she'll stop doing that in about half an hour, and still terrible. And then they brought her back, and you know what? When they brought that back, I had a creeping feeling they were going to do that.
I did too.
Even
when I looked at the cast because I wanted to know who came back.
Oh! I didn't do that. I didn't want to know anything. Okay, you knew she was back,
and you saw she was in it, and I was like, "Well, she's only got one bit to redo, man."
Boy, yeah.
And she's a good actor too. Like that actress has gone on to work.
Well, that scene is funny though because that gives us one of two looks at the camera.
Her name is Vanessa Bell Calloway, by the way. Yeah.
That gives us one of two fourth wall breakings, which are great.
Yeah, I like both of them. They're both funny.
They're perfect. They're not overdone. There's only two of them. I remembered there being more. I was kind of happy there wasn't. And that's a great one. Eddie, of course, knows how to do that as well as anyone.
It's very subtle, too. Like, it's not... Eddie, in later years, he got so big. I don't know what it is. In this, he's able to like give a deadpan look to camera and have that be a laugh moment. I don't know that he has that ability anymore.
I don't know either. I don't know either. But it works like hell in this one. Eric LaSalle has the other one, and that is classic too.
So funny. Eric LaSalle is so funny in this movie.
He's fantastic.
Why didn't he get more comedy work? You know, I just got done watching the Larry Sanders Show all the way through on HBO Max, and Eric LaSalle plays himself in like 2 episodes, and he's so funny.
Really?
Yeah.
Stuck in that ER trap, right?
Yeah, I know, but when ER ended, why didn't he go off and... I mean, I guess maybe he was getting typecast from ER.
Yeah, it happens to people with comedy. You know, it's unfortunate. He's not the only person that's happened to. By the way, I just want to say up top, you know, I also think the casting in this movie, needless, it's perfect all the way down the line. I forgot how funny and charming and hilarious the sister is. Patrice.
Really funny, really funny.
So funny when she's just like dancing by herself, like to her sister in front of the dog. I love that moment.
Yeah,
like,
what actor
so
is
cute.
that? That's Allison Dean is her name. I am like totally not familiar with her. She only has 18 credits on IMDb. One of the most recent, unfortunately, being rape victim in the Bruce Willis movie Tears of the Sun.
All right, well,
hey, she was in Speed 2. We covered her.
All right, she's making a living. She's making a living. I'm always happy.
She was in Cool as Ice. I love that movie.
Look, man, when we started this show, it seemed like everybody we were checking up on was either dead or addicted to drugs.
Boy, so that's what we're dealing with. You know, we're covering the Royal Rumbles on the Compies show on the Patreon. They're all dead, man.
That's awful. So, like, I'm always thrilled when I hear, even if they're just working, I'm happy to see they're still alive.
She's not working. She doesn't have a credit since 2007. But
I don't. That doesn't mean she might be whatever.
Why didn't they bring her back for this movie?
Oh, that's a good question. They got everybody else. Maybe she wants to do it. Maybe she has a family and a nice business she runs. Who knows?
I hope that's the case.
Yeah. But she's great. The cast. So, like I was saying, every part of the casting is just fucking genius.
Well, that's how you end up with a 6-way tie for MVP, man.
I mean, you even down to the Western Union scene with Arsenio Hall, and you get Elaine Kagan.
There's so many scenes like that. I mean, think about when they first get to America, when they come to America.
Yes.
They've got that cab driver played by this guy Jake Stein. You said that? Oh, I missed that.
I was starting to say the cab. Yeah, it's hysterical.
But how about also Ruben Santiago Hudson, the guy who wrote the current adaptation of Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and also was a guest lecturer at my college, plays the mugger in one scene of this movie and is very funny.
You mean the guy that has he opens his coat and has all the...
He takes their shit, doesn't he? Like when they first get to America, he scams them. I don't remember how he does it.
The guy that opens his thing and goes, "I've got some good stuff here." He's got all the gold in his coat. Yeah. That's cool.
That's Ruben Santiago Hudson. All right.
Frankie Faison is the greatest landlord, one of the greatest landlords in movie history.
He's so funny. When he suggests switching apartments, that scene is so good. And then when James Earl Jones shows up and he's in the hot tub, that is so funny. Frankie Faison is another guy who is really funny and I perpetually see in dark dramas.
Yeah, all the time. He got hooked in those Silence of the Lambs things, too, as a regular character, Barney. But he's fucking funny, man. His lines in the movie, him and John Amos, man, like, they've got the lines that just get me every time when the guy rolls down the stairs in front of him and he screams at him.
John Amos's descriptions of McDowell's are so funny to me. The way he really gets into everything. And honestly, that was one of the only times I laughed watching the new one. He made that up. It was just another updated bullshit joke of a joke from the first one. But when he started talking about McDowell's take on the McFlurry, I laughed at that.
I kind of felt bad at that point. I only laughed in the second movie. I only laughed one time.
What made you laugh?
I'll tell you. It was towards the end. and it was because of actually a cutaway. It wasn't anything. It was when Arsenio Hall is the preacher and he's marrying them, and the wonderfully charming Mirembe, who is my MVP of the second movie. She's the one he marries, the wife, at the end of the movie.
The hairdresser?
Yeah.
Okay.
She says she says
Boy,
it's all
Slim Pickens if that's your MVP.
Very much so. Wasn't going to be one of the leads, but yeah, she says to the Lavelle, she just says something like, "Oh, I've always dreamed of this too, a preacher with black socks and all that." And he'd like pan to Arsenio Hall, and he's like kind of his audio is toned down a bit, and it's just a very funny visual, and I laughed at that. That was it. It was the only time I laughed. Anyway, so in the first movie. Yes, Frankie Faison, one of his best lines, of course, is "You may enter."
Oh, yeah, that's great. So they're in America. He meets a woman he likes at McDowell's, which is a fake fast food place, and so he
meets her at the Black Awareness Rally.
You're right, I'm sorry. Jesus Christ. Yeah, how'd they end up at that Black Awareness Rally?
Because they go out to the amazing scene in the bar, which is still hilarious.
Where they're hitting on the women?
Yes.
Boy, but let me ask you a question. Just before you go any further. Coming to America, we've talked about this before, the way that sequels inserting things into the narratives from the first movie can affect the way you watch a movie forever. Next time you watch Coming to America and you get to that scene in the bar, are you going to be thinking, oh, later that night he fucked Leslie Jones?
I will not, nor will I be thinking that the twins...
I think I will!
Nor will I be thinking that the twins who rap and have one of the funniest things and then their reaction with their mouths agape, nor will I be thinking that they are still around and showing up in a sequel 32 years later.
All right.
I have to say that makes me laugh, though. It's very funny, the way it's cut. It's very funny. The bar pickup scene. The way it's shot, it's very funny. I think the selections of the women are very funny.
I always feel like I can live without Arsenio Hall as a woman.
I get it.
You think that's funny?
I'll tell you why it's funny.
Okay.
And this is why it's funny to me when I watched it 2 days ago. Eddie Murphy is barely containing himself. And
I think that's on purpose, though, and it's like he's trying to buck up the scene with that.
I don't think that's true. I think he's definitely I think he's definitely about to lose it, and it's great, and it makes it funny. Well, it doesn't matter the intention. That's for me what makes it funny when he crawls in on it, makes it funny. But
I mean, I did notice that, and it was the enjoyable part of that scene, but I just don't need it. All right, what else? He takes her to a basketball game. That's one of my favorite.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You asked how he went to
the yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's because he goes to the barber shop, who are the first people who they really meet. And we get that awesome scene and a hilarious boxing discussion and the Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano.
And Cuba Gooding Jr. getting a haircut, which I had no memory of.
I did. I remembered that.
It's 1988. The Kids' Choice Awards exist and Cuba Gooding Jr.'s in movies? What is happening?
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy, man. So they go out to the bar, they come back, and they run into Eddie Murphy's barber, Clarence. Mr. Clarence, and he tells them, you got to meet a good girl at church or the library or where I'm going now, the Black Awareness Rally. So they go to the Black Awareness Rally, where we're introduced to two of the great characters of The Preacher and Randy Watson. Mm-hmm. Oh, Faye, just good stuff.
Yeah. So he falls in love with this girl. Do we know the character's name? Lisa, of course. Lisa McDowell. And he starts work. That is always the weirdest part of this movie, that he's so focused on her that he starts working at McDowell's. I would never, ever, like, no matter how in love I was, I would never accept a job.
I thought of that too. It's so funny. I was like, boy, I think I'd just go on. I think I'd move on. I'd have to.
Or I'd just be a customer all the time.
Hey, just be a creeper customer, man. There's no way. That's too much commitment to fill out an application, mop floors.
Just go every day and like try to like make snippets of conversation. Right. Like it's basically the same thing. Like, because the whole purpose is just to like get her to think he's not rich, right? But if you're eating at a McDowell's every day, you're clearly not rich.
Good point.
Oh, so he's busting his ass. Poor Arsenio has to go to work with him.
Oh God! And another great John Amos line in McDowell's when Akeem is trying to suck up to the father, and he tells him describes the Jets game to him, and he clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. And Amos has a beautifully timed pregnant pause. He said, "Son, I'm only going to say this once. Lay off the drugs."
Which isn't even that good a line. It's just Amos's delivery.
It's the way he says it. It's great.
All right. I want to talk about the basketball game because that's my favorite sequence in the movie. The sequence where Vondi Curtis Hall, not I was going to say accosts, but he's so polite. Like it's genuinely sweet. I think you need this scene in the movie, and it plays perfectly for him to show up and recognize Akeem as being the prince of his home country of Zamunda, and to sort of like just want to pay his respects at the game, which is totally something that would happen. They're going to Madison Square Garden. Like somebody's going to recognize this guy.
Right. I think the whole movie has that running through it, a sweetness to it. I think even Eddie in the makeup as Clarence, the barber, like when he tells what we just talked about, when he tells him how to meet a girl, it's done in such a sweet manner. He's like a sweet old man. It's very funny.
I think the sweetness of the movie, and it is very apparent, it's a totally just sweet, nice movie. It really comes down to Murphy's performance as Akeem, which I think is really special. And I mean, the type of performance Murphy was still capable of at this point in time. I don't think he quite has it in the sequel. It's like almost there, but there are moments where I'm like, oh, he didn't nail it on that line.
He doesn't.
That was Eddie Murphy.
He doesn't have it because he's completely disengaged in the sequel.
I don't know. He wanted to make this movie.
I know that.
I agree that he seems disengaged, but maybe that's just how he is now. And
his character it makes no sense from what has happened in the first movie.
No, it totally doesn't. You're right. He's learned nothing. He's a different person, basically. It's frustrating, but he's such a sweet, nice guy in this movie, and it really helps to have like a broad mainstream comedy with a sweetness at the center. If you have the right guy for that, it can really make all the difference in a comedy. It's why The Fucking Jerk works with Steve Martin.
Yeah. So talk about the basketball scene.
Oh, I pretty much did. I love Vondi Curtis Hall, and I just think that scene, I think Eddie Murphy handles it really well, and I think they use the location and the crowd, and it's really nice. I like that scene.
You get Eric LaSalle behaving like an asshole.
Yeah, you really do.
You get Patrice being like all over Akeem, which is funny too. I mean, that's all really good.
Is she like giving him an HJ under a jacket in that scene?
I think she's just, playing some grabby grabs. Hardcore though.
Seemed
from his
like
reaction.
He came at one point.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think. Yeah. What else?
Oh, I mean, there's plenty. The movie goes on. Yeah, you get Samuel L. Jackson holding up the McDowells, which is a fun scene. You get the Trading Places reunion of Don Amish and Ralph Bellamy, where they're homeless still from the end of Trading Places, and he gets what?
That's fantastic. I mean, that's got to be one of the best cameos. I mean, ever. To even occur to somebody to do that. I mean,
this is what Adam Sandler is reaching for every time he does this.
Is that right?
He does this constantly in his movies. Brings back random old characters.
I didn't know that. Yeah, and it's Amici, by the way, just so you know.
What did I say, Amish?
Yeah, you don't know how to say Italian names. That's nothing new. Nobody does.
Is that part of the horrible Italian racism conspiracy?
No, I don't count that. That's just waspy American. We can't say anything that doesn't have consonants in it.
Oh, okay. So she finds out that he's rich, and she's not into it at first, but then she shows up in Zamunda and marries him. I mean, that's pretty much the end of the movie. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about in specific?
Yes, the sequence when Semi redecorates the apartment and then the king shows up in New York and they go to McDowell's house. It has always been, I don't know why, but we've talked about it before, a well-timed and a perfected pratfall destroys me, even though it's not generally my favorite type of humor. When John Amos is running back and forth from the door when Daryl rings the bell, and then he's running back and forth and then trips on the stairs and it goes unacknowledged, has me howling every time.
It is very funny. And
it got me the biggest laugh of this watching. I every fucking time when he falls on the stairs, it's so fucking genius.
The reason that pratfall works is because they did the necessary work earlier in the scene by having John Amos run into the next room to have to talk to them on the phone. So they sort of at the beginning of that scene create a sort of farcical tone, which is not something we've really been doing much in the movie, but it's definitely the focus of that scene. And so by the time you get to that fall, it really works. It's funny.
That's right.
And that's Landis. I gotta say a couple nice things about Landis. He does have kind of a mastery of tone when it comes to comedy.
He does. And the line that he says to James Earl Jones when he doesn't know what to call him, and he says, "I feel like breakdancing." That one gets me too.
That made me laugh really hard. I forgot that line completely.
It's one of my favorite lines in the movie. It always has been. Oh God, it's so fucking funny. Yeah. Anyway, it's very heartwarming. By the end, we get back to Zamunda, and if you don't know, we'll spoil it for you. At the end, his bride comes down. The music's beautiful, and he doesn't know that it's going to be Lisa, and it is Lisa. And then it's happily ever after. And she is really, really, really adorable. She's a really appealing actress.
Yes.
Love her just reactions to everything. She's also got good comedic timing. And she's just very sweet. Everybody down the line in this movie. I think this movie is perfecto.
Yeah, I won't go that far. But it's a great one. I give it a 4. Henry took a sip.
Why not a 5?
Why not a 5? I don't know. It's not a 5.
I think it's a classic comedy.
It is a classic comedy, man, but I just don't think it's a 5. I think it's very great. It's just not a 5. To me, a 5 is an unimpeachable classic, and there's just shit about this movie. I wish she was better developed. I wish they got to America a little bit faster. I wish that there wasn't weird Jew face. I wish I have problems with the movie. It's a great movie, but it's a 4. I feel that way about all of Murphy's movies. I don't see any of them as 5s from this era.
All right. Well, I feel differently.
Yeah, of course.
It's a 5.
No, he's made a lot of 4s. Beverly Hills Cop, Coming to America, Trading Places, and of course 1-1, The Golden Child.
48 Hours. Did you give that a 4?
I believe I gave it a 4. Yeah, they're all 4s.
Fucking snob.
Snob.
You're always calling me a snob, so I like to flip it when I can.
Sure.
The MVP for this movie, right? Real hard when you have to pick one. Really hard. I mean, the obvious first choice, because he's such a fucking genius, is Eddie Murphy. But I really want to I've given Eddie MVP before. I gave it to him, I think, in 48 Hours and Beverly Hills Cop. I want to give it to somebody, less obvious. And so I think from our discussion, I want to give, unless you're going to do this, I don't want to do this, but I want to give it to John Amos.
I'm going to go with Eric LaSalle, who has consistently made me laugh harder than anybody else in this movie since I first saw it in probably 1993 or something. And I just the Soul Glow stuff to me is so funny. He's such a great asshole in this movie.
He is great.
He has a hilarious face. He's great at reaction shots. He's likable when he needs to be, and he's the worst person in the world when he needs to be. I think he's so funny in this movie. Eric LaSalle.
And yet they give him kind of a funny, funnily sweet, happy ending.
Because he's too likable. You like him too much. You need to see him happy at the end.
Yeah, he kind of ends up implied that he ends up with the sister. So,
yeah, that's right. That's right. And she's so excited about it because she's just looking for a very handsome rich man. And he's the spokesperson for Soul Glow.
Hey, he didn't return for the sequel either, so there you go.
Good for him. I'm sure they asked.
John Amos, my MVP. Eric LaSalle, yours. LVP, I have none.
Oh, come on. There's got to be somebody.
Who is bad in this movie?
There's got to be somebody. I'm looking it up. Oh, that sequence in the subway at the end is good.
It's fantastic. I thought about Zamunda. I was looking at LVPs. I was thinking about, okay, does somebody in Zamunda not work? But I like the mother. I like her a lot, Madge Sinclair.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I know our MVPs and LVPs are being recorded, and I think that a none can count.
What if I went with Vanessa Bell Calloway for the barking?
But then I feel like it's not. I mean, that then you're like putting her down, and that.
I'm nothing against the actor. I've liked her in like a million things. She has like 200 credits on IMDb, but I mean, it's the character more than anything else. What is she in the 90s? I feel like she was like a regular in a great sitcom or something.
I don't know that I recognize her. Dude.
Really? She's in What's Love Got to Do with It. She's in Daylight.
She's in Daylight?
Yeah, some of my favorite movies.
Daylight's great.
I don't know, man. She's just a working actor. I've seen she's cheaper by the dozen. Lakeview Terrace.
Jesus, I've seen all.
I know.
Okay.
She
must
shows
not have
up and stuff. I feel like she does. She's got like first and last names in all these movies.
All right, well, she's gonna be your LVP.
I guess so.
I can't do it. I love this. It's one of my favorite comedies ever made, and I don't feel that it has a weak link.
All right, Henry can't do it. Hey, she's been in 23 episodes of Shameless. That's what she's up to these days. She's having a great career.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was going to do that, I would give it to one of the writers for giving her that and then giving the Jewish thing.
One of these writers ended up... you think one of the writers said, and then Eddie Murphy dresses up like a Jew? No, that's an Eddie idea, my friend.
That's a good point.
These writers, one of them ended up directing Beyond the Mat. They're not getting my LVP. I'm sorry.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, because you can't give a writer who wrote something as great as this, even for the defects in it. You're right on the Eddie thing.
Yeah, it's an amazing script.
He's done that voice before, the Jewish voice.
Of course he has. Yeah. SNL in the 80s was like the height of comedy is if Eddie Murphy acts like a Jew and Billy Crystal acts like a black guy.
I was just going to say, it's like Revenge or something. It's like I don't know what it is, man. It's crazy. Yeah. So you found Vanessa Bell. All right.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to Coming to America, the sequel by Craig Brewer. Blaustein and Sheffield are back to write, along with co-writer Kenya Barris, who recently left his he had like a $100 million contract to develop shows for Netflix and only ended up developing one show for them, which he starred in. It was called #BlackAF. He's the creator of Blackish, this guy. This is what he's best known for.
Okay.
And he had this enormous fucking contract with Netflix, and because of this movie, he recently got out of that contract and signed an even bigger contract with Amazon Studios. So that's where he's at now. Brewer's directing. It was released March 4th, 2021, a couple weeks ago. Budget of $60 million. It was, of course, supposed to come out in theaters, I believe, in the summer of 2020. but it got pushed back because of COVID. And Amazon ended up purchasing the rights from Paramount, I believe, for $125 million, which was frankly a good deal for both companies, because as a $60 million movie, now Paramount or whoever it was no longer has to pay marketing costs and gets an easy $125 million. And Amazon, apparently this movie is doing really, really well for them.
I was just thinking about your Letterboxd review of this movie, and which was a little bit of a spoiler, to be honest.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had nothing else to say, and I wanted to say something.
It was very fucking funny.
I'll walk you through it right now. We've now seen Coming to America, right? Not too painful to watch on Amazon Prime. You get through it. Maybe you never want to watch it again, but you got through it.
It took me longer than the 110 minutes that it is.
Okay.
I had to pause multiple times, man.
All I'm saying is, imagine this. Imagine you wake up in the morning, you know, not even, it's nighttime, okay? You take somebody on a date. You have to take a shower, stand under that water, get pelted by hot water for 20 minutes.
I hate showers, by the way.
I hate showers.
Doesn't like it.
I do it, but I hate it. It's not refreshing to me.
It's an important point to say. I do it. Don't worry, guys. He does bathe, but I remember when we lived together, he gave me his theory on showers. One of the funniest fucking things I ever heard in my life. I'd never heard it. And he's right. We can go to the moon. We can send satellites to Mars. We can't come up with a way to just get clean.
It's amazing. It's 2021, and the world is just like, stand under this faucet for a while. It'll work.
and do quite a lot of work, too.
Yeah.
A lot of scrubbing.
So much.
A lot of, it costs money because of the water bill and the soap you have to continuously buy.
It's crazy. There's got to be some sort of a Jetsons thing where you just like get decontaminated. That's got to happen.
Well, it better happen now. This is the time to invent it.
For sure, man. Somebody better be working on that shit. All right, so you take a shower, Henry. Then if you're a woman, you have to put on makeup. You have to come up with an outfit, all right? You have to step outside of your home into the cold. You have to get behind a wheel of a car. Maybe you have to put a mask on, all right? You have to get on the subway, sit there for an hour while you're waiting to get to the theater. You meet somebody, they're late, you miss the showing, you have to kill an hour and a half at a bar somewhere, I can't even drink. Then you finally go see the movie, you spend $20 on yourself, $20 on your date, you spend $25 additional on concessions. You sit there in the movie theater around the unwashed fucking disgusting masses. It smells like BO and New York. And then this is the movie. You sit through a half hour of coming attractions, and then you're sat there for 2 hours to watch this movie. Imagine that. Imagine that night.
Well, you made it worse because you started out with a generic, sort of for everybody, our global listeners, movie experience, and then you segued ever so subtly. You couldn't help but make it personal. When you said you get on the subway, and then it became a New York thing.
Well, other people drive. Other people have to drive a long distance.
Right, but it made it far worse in my mind because going through all that shit would be even worse in New York.
I have an AMC pass. AMC Theaters just moved up. They just opened up in New York. I was curious. I looked up the closest AMC theater near me in South Prospect Park, Brooklyn, and it is on 11th Street and 3rd Avenue in Manhattan. That's where I would have to go see a movie using my AMC pass right now.
11th. Oh, I know that theater.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I saw Drive there.
AMC doesn't have a theater in Brooklyn? What's going on?
That's good. Yeah, but who wants to go? I'm not going to the movies.
I'm not either. I just wanted to see.
Yeah, no, I understand. They're open down here too, but you got to sit there and wear a mask, which is good. But I'm not doing it. I can't do that. I'm not sitting there with a
I've
mask.
just been jonesing. I want to get back to the theater. They've got that Baby Head Holland movie playing, Chaos Walking, and I'm like, I want to see that bullshit.
Yeah, I'm fine, man.
I get it, man. I hear you. Listen, I get it. I am the whole time I'm watching this movie, I'm just fantasizing about what if I had to see this shit in theaters.
That's true, because I guess we would have, right?
We would have. We definitely would have. Both of us would have paid money to see this in theaters.
Well, what I meant was we might have been paid to do it. So
I think both of us would have gone. I would have picked this to watch. I would have wanted to cover this, and I would have told you to go see it in theaters. You would have been like, okay, is it coming to America too? I'm telling you this would have happened.
All right.
And we both would have had to just sit there and watch this.
So this movie isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's worse, and that doesn't happen to me that often. If anything on this show, sometimes the opposite happens, where my expectations are so low that they're just sort of, I'm like, oh, Wishmaster 3, okay. You know.
I'm listening.
You know, just sometimes that happen, and, you know, but man alive.
You know, Borat 2, Borat's subsequent movie film, just won the Golden Globe for Best Comedy. And it has been nominated for a couple of Oscars. Of course, not Best Picture. That's way too interesting for them. But what's her face? Maria Bakalova. Did you watch Borat 2?
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, his daughter got nominated for Best Supporting Actress, which I think is really cool.
That's awesome.
All right, now, I gotta tell you, I really enjoyed Borat's subsequent movie film when it came out. I watched it when it was released, and I watched it on... Was that Amazon as well?
Think so.
Yeah, I think so too. And so... Yeah. I gotta tell you, I never truly appreciated the craft that went into Borat's subsequent movie film until watching Coming to America. Because this really showed me just how dire and lazy a belated sequel could be. And the fact that Borat sequel worked as well as it did, that it was entertaining all the way through, that it actually had a thing to say, that it had a proper storyline and a proper ending that weren't beholden to the first movie. I mean, there is an art to that. I mean, when that movie won Best Comedy at the Golden Globes, my first impulse, even though I enjoyed it, was like, really? Borat 2? How's that going to look in the future? But as somebody who spends so much of his time watching belated sequels and just seeing how poor and shitty and nightmarish they can be, the fact that Borat 2 was as good as it was, now I think is a fucking miracle. And it deserves all the awards in the fucking world.
Well, I think that
we should be giving awards to that because we're making sequels. Sequels come out every fucking week now, and they're all bad. Especially comedy sequels.
I think that a lot of that is just that, in my opinion, Sacha Baron Cohen is just very, very, very alive, very with it, very like energetic. He's a brilliant fucking dude, and he's not gonna. You know,
you would have said the same thing about Eddie Murphy years ago.
I would have never. No, I wouldn't say it now. I knew this movie was going to be bad. You know, I mean, Borat 2, I wasn't sure what to expect, but it doesn't surprise me when I thought it was great. You know what I mean? And I think it is great that it was nominated for stuff. I hope, you know, I don't know if he cares about that stuff, but you know,
I think he cares.
Does it? Yeah, he probably does. Yeah. Yeah, no, you make a good point. I'm glad it got something because I thought, you know, for one, I mean, did the first one, did that get anything?
No, I don't think so.
Recognize the genius of that fucking thing? Yeah, I don't know.
I'll look it up. But I mean, all right, you want to get into like the plot of this movie a little bit? What was I
Sure.
just looking up? I like lost track of my life.
I don't know, and I was just looking up what got nominated for Oscars.
Oh, the first
curious.
Borat movie. Oh, don't do that now. You don't have time for that.
No, I know. I just had no idea. So
It was nominated, by the way. The first Borat and the new Borat were both nominated for screenplay Oscars, which is
that's right.
So
I
smart,
remember
so
that.
smart Oscars. Yeah, nominated only for a writing award when it's a largely improvised movie. Sure.
Yeah, but it gave Larry Charles something, right?
Oh, you know what? Sacha Baron Cohen won the Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Comedy for the first Borat. So
Good.
yeah, maybe I shouldn't have been so hard on them or whatever. But anyway, it's because they're foreign, the Hollywood foreign press, and the Ali G show. They were probably into that shit.
That's right. They're
Yeah.
French.
They're French mostly. Henry, we get a recap of the events of the first movie, lots of clips, and then we're thrust into the events of this movie, which are pretty much the events of the first movie. So now, Eddie Murphy's King of Zamunda.
Well, not until we get a painful sequence with James Earl Jones, who I thought was dead.
They shot two scenes with James Earl Jones, apparently separate from everybody else. He wasn't in the same room with the people he was shooting the scenes in. They, went to his actual house and shot him on his fucking deathbed for this movie.
Is he dead now?
No, but he's clearly about to be.
Oh, man. That was tough.
No, David Prowse died. That confused everybody. All right.
It's just, I don't know, man. It's just painful, you know. I feel like everyone had lovely intentions. But seeing everybody aged so poorly, or not
Yeah.
even poorly, it's 32 years later. I mean, most of those people were in their 50s.
The problem
you know?
is that it's 32 years later and none of them have evolved as characters. Like his servant's
Right.
doing the same thing, singing the
Yeah.
same song. His dad is doing the same shit. John Amos is living with them, doing the same bits. She's married to him and still doesn't really have a personality.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I found really hard.
She might
to
as well not be in
swallow.
the fucking movie.
Yeah, I found that really hard to swallow because, it seems like she went over to Africa and became the princess and now queen for most of the movie. And, she has, they don't give her any of her, Americanness. She doesn't
Well,
have
that's
any of her-
a very fucking weird thing about this movie because
Yeah.
the whole premise is that Eddie Murphy finds out that he impregnated Leslie Jones on a weird night where they were really high.
on that night that we now know was at the bar.
Yeah, so he impregnated Leslie Jones and had a son. And now he goes back to America to retrieve the son and train the son to be the new king of Zamunda or whatever. And so part of the thing is that the son comes over with his mom, played by Leslie Jones, and his, family friend, I guess, played by Tracy Morgan. And,
Uncle Reem.
Uncle, sure. But I couldn't tell whether it was meant to be an actual uncle or whether it's just
I don't.
Yeah. All right. So so the whole it's a fish out of water thing, much like it's basically, remember we did Crocodile Dundee, and
Yes.
the first Crocodile Dundee, it's like, oh, let's see how he handles America, and then the second, it's like, oh, but let's see how she handles the Outback. So in this sequel, the first movie is let's see how Akeem handles America, Queens. And in this one, it's let's see how these Queens people handle Zamunda. And so that's why we develop Zamunda further into just a Bobo Wakanda or whatever. And so I just, it's so funny to me that they're doing all of these bits about fish out of water. How crazy is it that these Queens people are in Zamunda acting like Queens people, but it's she is Eddie Murphy's wife was discovered in a working class family in Queens. John Amos is living with them. How is people acting like New York? And they're never that bad. They're never that ghetto. They're just
No.
They're just
No.
people from Queens.
Right. Yeah, I know.
But why is it so crazy to them that they're acting this way? Because, like, John Amos has been living there for 30 years, and none of them have exactly evolved as characters. So they're still acting the same way.
Yeah,
It just doesn't make any... There's so many, like, stopping points for me in this movie. Where, like,
Yes.
I want to just sit back and enjoy it. But I'm thinking about all this stuff that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that they'd be put off by Leslie Jones. It doesn't make sense that the barbershop guys would still be alive and look exactly the same. It just... Coming to America... Even though it involves, and the preacher, even though it involves a fictional nation and it's Eddie Murphy playing a king, it does have a sweetness and a lightness and a realism to it that you can, no matter what silly shit happens in that movie, you can follow it. You're in the narrative. You're invested. There's just so much shit like that building up in this movie that, like, what am I supposed to hang on to here? What am I watching? What even am I watching?
And they don't even know what to do in terms of what type of movie they want to make in a genre, really. I mean, they're trying a comedy, but then they want to put in some action. So you get Wesley Snipes.
There's way too much action in this movie.
Yeah, and they get, like, Wesley Snipes. Obviously love Wesley Snipes. I love...
Very funny in this.
But, you know, he's given this weird character who, like, is violent but not violent, can't decide whether he's going to be a dancer character or a gun-wielding warlord. It's very, very strange. I feel like Wesley is one of the people who's really giving it.
I liked the glimpse into his country, though, where he's, like, revered as Kim Jong-il-esque figure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
I would live in a country that worships Wesley Snipes.
Me too.
Could we make that this country?
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Someone like Banksy has to one night form some sort of effort to, like, paper an entire American city with propaganda photos of Wesley Snipes and get this going.
I'd love it. You could subtitle this country the United States of America, Passenger 57.
It would be good.
Where do you live?
That's what
I
you
live
want
in
to go?
Passenger 57.
Oh, all the states could be different. Yeah, where are you from? Passenger 57. Oh, really? I'm from Major League. I grew up in Money Train, but I went to college in Blade 2.
Thank you, because I'm, like, completely blanking. I keep trying to think of his action. You know what? I actually grew up. I was born in Rising Sun, and then I moved to Boiling Point.
You know, Boiling Point is just the climate's too hot there for me.
Yeah, no, it is. And it got gentrified a little bit.
Definitely. You know? So I actually was living in Boiling Point for a little while, Henry, and I moved to The Art of War.
I've heard good things about The Art of War.
It's just
Blade
boring.
3,
it's just boring. Okay. Not a lot happens in The Art of War.
Blade 3 was kind of just a lot of... It's kind of too crowded, that neighborhood. It's too much stuff happening.
That state is called Blade Trinity. Are you even an American?
You know, I'm from that. When I've been living there so long, we do the 3.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have made presumptions.
That's okay. It's okay. It's like the 5-7. People from Passenger 57. You know, it's really they called it the 5-7.
For sure. Henry, the 5-7. I would live in the 5-7 for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was a good bit.
Great bit, Henry. Great bit.
That bit was better than any single bit in this movie.
Honestly?
Yeah.
I'll stand by it.
Anything.
All right. So, Henry, I do want to talk about the photobomb that we get right up front here because the actress who played Eddie Murphy's mom in the original died in 1995.
Woo, God!
Yeah, but we need to see everybody, so she's there.
Madge Sinclair.
Yeah,
1995. Jesus Christ!
What did she die of? Do you have that info?
No, I'm too busy trying to pull up, a theme song here.
Leukemia, Henry. She died of leukemia.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. This is for Madge Sinclair.
It's a photo bomb, 'cause we couldn't get the actors because we couldn't afford them. So
Well.
get on the photo bomb.
I mean,
Beautiful.
she was dead, but
Yeah, we could afford her, but she was not on this earthly plane, you know. Great actress though, Madge Sinclair. We didn't mention her in the first movie, but she's.
I did.
Oh, you did. I'm sorry. She's Kunta Kinte's mom in Roots.
Oh, okay.
That's what I know her from.
Oh, all right.
All right, so coming to America, let's get back to it. So we
Yeah.
get that photobomb, and then it is the King James Earl Jones's ceremony. It's like his birthday celebration, Henry.
Funeral celebration. that
Oh,
wants
right.
to
He
get-
wants to have a funeral celebration when he's alive. I forgot about that. All right, so we get some great cameos here. En Vogue shows up, and instead of singing "What a man, what a man, what a mighty good man," Henry, it's "What a king," because he's a king.
Yeah, and it did remind me that In Vogue and Salt and Pepper are awesome. In Vogue looking pretty good. Salt and Pepper not so much.
But they sounded great. Salt and Pepper,
did.
they still can really rap.
If that was them doing it,
No,
yes.
it definitely was. You know, I have
Spinderella missing, by the way.
what?
Missing Spinderella in Salt and Pepper.
Yeah, I know, and I have something to talk about with that.
Oh no,
All right.
this is be bad.
No, I'm about to defend Spinderella to the end of the earth. Okay? And I don't
'Cause I
know
had
why
a-
she's not in this
for her.
movie. Yeah, no, she's the greatest. Amazing
Ugh.
DJ, great. All right. Spinderella. They recently made a Salt and Pepper biopic on the Lifetime channel, Henry.
I remember hearing about this.
They left out Spinderella.
How is that?
I don't know. You're making a biopic about a group with 3 people, and you're leaving out one of them? It's crazy.
So they're going to make a biopic of Rush and leave out Neil Peart or Run DMC and leave.
It's absolutely mind-blowing. It is such a weird move.
Boy, must have been some real bad relationships going on there. I don't know.
I mean, what do you do? It'd be like if you made a biopic about the Spice Girls and you just pretended Posh Spice never existed.
That's what I'm saying. That's terrible.
I don't know why
That's
Spice
terrible.
Girls was the first band I thought of
I don't
doing
know. I
that
came
with.
up with Rush and Run DMC. I mean, you know.
I'm just trying to think of a group Lifetime would make a movie out of. Yeah.
Yes.
So that was mind-blowing, and I don't know what happened with that, but why isn't she in this movie? Did Salt and Pepper agree to that? And now they've had a falling out?
Well, that was my thought. I mean,
Somebody
I
let
don't
me know what's going on in the world of Salt and Pepper these days, because I am very confused by what I'm seeing.
I got real sad years ago when I saw Salt and Pepper on some show. I don't remember what it was or why I'd be watching it. But I remember them appealing to fans to make them popular again.
Oy.
And it was one of the most painful things I ever watched. Because I guess they tried to do a tour and like people weren't into it, which is stupid. People
Now's
should be.
the time, though. You know,
Yes.
they jumped in before the wave of 90s nostalgia is the problem. Now there's tons
Yeah.
of 90s nostalgia. They can go on a... They're constantly putting together these like super group 90s tours where it's like you go see like Everclear and Train and Lifehouse. They're all there.
I gotta tell you something. If Salt and Pepper and En Vogue got together, you might see H-Bomb driving a little bit to go see that.
Can I ask you a question, H-Bomb?
Yeah.
If Salt and Pepper and En Vogue performed together, they would definitely have to perform What a King, right?
It's not what I thought
They
you were going.
would, though, right?
Oh God, I don't want. I can't.
All right, so we go to America. It's Arsenio with a much smaller part than he did in the movie. Murphy does not have the same confidence that he once did. And they immediately go to the barbershop, of course, where they get to see everybody looking exactly the same. And what I hated about this scene, Henry, is in the first movie, they're not talking about pop culture references. They're talking about boxing, because that's what old people talk about. They brought up Mike Tyson, who is a new boxer in the first movie, and that's a very funny reference. But in this movie, because now it's 2021, we got to talk about current things, Henry. So we're not talking about boxing. We're talking about MMA. They're bringing up Conor McGregor. We get to hear the old barbershop men's feelings on the hashtag #MeToo movement and about the existence of trans people. They seem to be very confounded by the fact that trans people could exist, even though they existed in 1988 too. And that's just, we have to just sit there and listen to that for about 10 minutes.
It's really bad, man. I mean,
we couldn't have gotten Cuba for that scene.
I mean, you might as fucking well.
I mean, what else are we doing?
I know. It's just, it's a shame. I feel like I had to, actually, I'm glad I thought of this now, because I thought about it last night. I feel like when the movie ended, I was in the bathroom having a urination, and a random thought occurred to me.
Just urination? You're standing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was standing.
He's standing, dick in hand, or are you just like, you got it aiming?
Maybe.
Wow, good for you.
Thanks, man.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah.
You have to stand. Is your dick like a little tilted left, so you have to stand slightly sideways to get it to go exactly right?
No, but it's huge, so I have to stand on a ladder.
Oh, listen to this guy, and it's still touching the brim.
Fucking idiots. And his thought goes into my head where I'm like, maybe this movie would have been better if it was made like at the latest 10 years later. 10 at the most. Best case scenario, it's a not so good sequel, like Another 48 Hours, where you waited like 2 or 3 years. It would have been a very different movie, but it might have been like the Walter Hill-esque version,
right? Or the Tony Scott version of Beverly Hills Cop. You're right.
That's right. That's the thought that occurred to me. Like, even Crocodile Dundee went into my head, and I was just like, even Crocodile Dundee 2, where they did it kind of soon.
Yes.
Good, but
this could have been as embarrassing as Crocodile Dundee 2, and instead, it's as embarrassing as Crocodile Dundee Goes to Los Angeles.
Exactly right. That is a good comparison. Like, they could come up with a sequel that wasn't good, but you'd refer to it in conversation like, yeah, this sequel had its moments.
Is Eddie Murphy the Black Paul Hogan?
I don't know. It's a great question.
Yeah.
It's a great question. Yeah.
It's like this, though. If you wait too long, it just never works, man. That Dumb and Dumber 2, that Anchorman 2, these movies are all trash. And it's like, even the ones, like Anchorman 2 is a watchable movie. I like, people will, sometimes when I talk shit about Anchorman 2 on this podcast, I'll usually get like one person on the internet defending it to me. And so
I only saw it in theaters once, and I do not remember anything about it, so I just don't.
I mostly just remember that part where they got into a car accident and there were those like tableaus of shit moving in slow motion. That was pretty cool. Anyway, the fucking Anchorman 2 is a fine movie, but you just watch it, and if you really think about it, if I asked you, wouldn't you rather be just watching the first one?
Yeah.
Like, I've never watched Coming to America and just been like, I wish there were 2 more hours of this. I wish there were 2 more not as good hours of this.
That's right.
I don't care. Right. I'm fine. I'll just rewatch Coming to America, which is an hour and 50-minute movie. I'll rewatch this movie once every 3 years for the rest of my life because I love it and it's fun. I don't need more of this story. Who thinks I need more of this story?
And that's the thing about the greatness of the first movie, and also you bring up a great point about even sequels anyway. You indirectly brought up the point, which is where if I want to spend more time with Akeem and gang, like the first movie is so good, I'll just do it again. I'll just watch it again. It's fresh, it's funny. I don't need a continuation. It's totally unnecessary.
That's how that shit works. But you're right. There's like, if this movie existed when I was a kid, it would just be the one I watched less.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yep.
like it's like when I was a kid, Ghostbusters 2 already existed.
Just gonna say that. Yeah.
All right? And I watched Ghostbusters fucking constantly, and every so often I'd put on Ghostbusters 2. Or like,
Amen.
I watched Back to the Future fucking constantly, and when I was in the mood, I'd watch parts 2 and 3. All right? Now, it's the same fucking thing. Like, this movie is not even in the same league, obviously, as those movies I just mentioned.
No.
But if this movie just existed when I was a kid, I'd watch Coming to America. I'd watch it maybe like 1 out of every 5 times I watched Coming to America. All right?
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
fact that this
Right.
is just like a belated sequel years later, I want to just ignore it. I'll never
Yeah,
watch it again. Fuck this
neither.
shit.
I agree, man. And in my rating, I almost just felt bad. I almost wanted to like give it something else just for pity, but I ended up that I couldn't do it. I was even thinking all the way up until this morning when we were starting, like maybe I'll be flexible, but I don't want to be.
I'm still between
Yeah.
a 2 and a 1 talking about it. There's two
understand,
plot points I want to talk about in particular.
All
Just before we go, one is that Eddie Murphy it's established he's had 3 daughters with
Yeah.
Lisa since the first movie. One of them is of age to rule the nation, and she seems like a really intelligent, mature woman.
I liked all 3 of those actresses, by the way. I thought they were high points.
I was a little iffy on the one that's Eddie Murphy's daughter.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Stuck out like a sore thumb to me.
Not to me. Which one's his daughter? The tiny one?
Nope, the middle one with the glasses.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I was like, wow, this one's not as good an actor as the other 2, and I checked it, and it's Eddie Murphy's daughter. Wow.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And then I saw a quote from him where he said that he thinks she's going to be a huge star after this movie comes out. Keep thinking, buddy. All right, so the fact that he has 3 daughters and yet is uncomfortable with one of those daughters ruling the nation means that Eddie Murphy in the Prince Akeem in the 32 years since the first movie has gone from being the most progressive man in Zamunda history who only believes in true love and refuses to rule his nation without a real partner by his side. That's the character he's playing in the first movie. In this movie, he literally has to leave his country to go find his bastard son instead of just leaving his country to the very bright women that he has raised. What is going on there?
He has his character. We're supposed to really believe that his character has devolved. He's devolved, and that's a disappointing thing. And they back that up by the way his wife is just they don't write her a goddamn line. I mean, she's totally silent, which makes also no sense. So
They should have had her come to Queens. She's from Queens. That would have been an interesting element.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then they introduce the son, who's played by Jermaine Fowler, who is a local New York stand-up comedian. I've seen him a bunch of times. I'm pretty sure I met him once.
Really?
Yeah, like he's just like a local guy. I've never seen him in movies and shit. He's
I didn't think he was.
and
very
boy,
good
it
at-
really goes to show you. Like I watch movies now, and I'm like, everyone is beautiful. That didn't used to be how movies are, and I think it's also just like movie technology and movie makeup has changed because he looks like the handsomest fucking dude in the world in this movie. And I have seen him in person, and he's just like he's handsome. He's like a good-looking black guy. Like,
Yeah.
But he's just like a normal guy.
Yeah.
And in this movie, he's like, I don't know, but they made his jaw look better or something.
I don't know. He's just not that. He's just not that good. I mean, it's not really his fault. The writing's really bad for him, but I just don't. He doesn't. I think his best sequence is with Colin, what's his face from Saturday Night Live.
Oh, you mean my LVP, Colin Jost?
Oh, please, he's your LVP in this fucking shitstorm.
Listen, Colin Jost needs to stay his ass away from movie cameras. The man cannot act a fucking lick. I mean, reading lines, it was like You know what it was like? Remember that Will Ferrell sketch that he did for Funny or Die, The Landlord, where it's like he made his tiny daughter a landlord and just like fed her lines to read. That's what it's like. It's like a little baby being fed lines. That's what listening to Colin Jost act is like.
Yeah, I know you hate him.
But like, it's not. He's not an idiot. Like he can write, kind of. Every so often, I'll hear a joke on Update where I'm like, "That's a clever joke." It annoys me that he's this weird white sociopath and uses that as a comic persona. I'm like, you can't just be that in real life and then pretend it's a joke. Like, it's just that's the way people perceive him. So he's like, all right, fine, that's the way I'll act.
I didn't know that. I never thought of that.
That's what he does. In every movie now, he's just like the evil, shitty white guy with a punchable face. And it's because he realized that's the only way he can get over on camera on SNL.
Oh, interesting. All right.
Yeah, he's as bad as everyone is in this fucking movie. That is an amateur who should not be in movies.
All right, fair enough. But I thought that was Lavelle's best sequence. He actually got to do some acting instead of just sort of like strutting and.
I was so distracted. I don't know. I thought he was okay in the couple scenes with your MVP. The scene where they're like the one scene where they have a conversation and he falls in love with her. Yeah,
that's good. Well, her name is Nomzamo Mbatha, and she plays Mirembe, and I really liked her a lot. I thought she had a lot of charm.
I can't speak to her performance. She's clearly a very beautiful woman, and I couldn't tell whether she can act.
I thought she was good. I liked it. My LVP. I'm sorry. I just think that a lot of this blame has to fall at somebody's feet, and it's Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, that's fine.
He's my LVP. I mean, he's totally not into it, which is dumb because he's been talking about this for such a long time. I know that there's some listeners will disagree and think that he's engaged and all that, but I just don't.
You're lying to yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, as a lifelong Eddie fan, I've been watching him since I was born. Literally. I feel like I have the ability to tell when he's interested and when he's not. And
Eddie Murphy has not been funny since about 1992, okay? And nothing has changed. I don't give a fuck how engaged he has seemed in the last 2 years. I'm done. I'm done. I had like a wave of hope when he announced he was going to do stand-up again. And now all I'm doing is waiting for his stand-up because it's going to be horrible. Well, I wasn't funny because Eddie Murphy is dumb. He's not a good person, and he's not funny anymore. There's literally nothing I can defend this prick on.
I would definitely agree he's probably not a good person. I don't necessarily think he's dumb, but I will hold out hope that maybe his stand-up will be good, but it's not looking great. I mean, and I checked out on Eddie after Boomerang and Distinguished Gentleman. I mean, I didn't stick around. I didn't grow up. I was too old for the Nutty
stuck around.
I mean, but by then his head had got so big, and he just, I don't know.
Are you thinking of Meet Dave when there's people working inside of his head?
That's a great point. Yeah. They can fit. They fit. But anyway. Yeah, he's my LVP, and this is I'm going with a 1 star.
You talked me down. I'm going 1 also.
Yeah. All right. I mean,
fuck
it's
this
a 1.
movie.
And that's how I felt. I mean, last night I felt like maybe I'll just give it a 2, and then even today I was just kind of like maybe give it a 2, but then I just thought about it. I'm like, no, why? I'm not going to do that. It's not fair to 2-star movies that I give because I don't think this has any value at all.
I don't either. Did I do MVP?
You did LVP. Go for your MVP.
Listen, I don't want to give it to any returning players because they're all going through the motions. I think John Amos is funny in like the couple of lines he has, but like it's so hard for me to just watch these people doing a shittier version of something they did 30 years ago. So, I was between two new players for my MVP, and that was the great Wesley Snipes and, of course, Tracy Morgan as Uncle Reem. And I'm not saying he adds much, but Tracy Morgan can make me laugh with a line delivery, even if the line's not good. And so I love what Tracy Morgan's doing with his career after that accident. I think this is a paycheck for him, but I like the way he's been choosing his roles. I think The Last OG on TBS is a genuinely great comedy series that has done 3 really good seasons so far. And I'm looking forward to more. So he's my MVP.
All right. Fair enough.
All right.
He is good.
We didn't mention a couple of the other new players. There's also... What do you think of Trevor Noah as a news guy?
It was nice to see him. I mean, he's probably more talented at this point than anybody in the movie. I love Trevor Noah.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay. Have fun with that.
You don't like Trevor Noah now? What's wrong with him?
Well, he's never made me laugh, and he's a comedian, so that's hard.
I'm sorry to hear that. That you don't find him funny. Okay.
I also just want to give a shout out to the great, I forget. Oh, Morgan Freeman played himself.
Oh my God!
What'd you think about that?
I thought that was.
Was that the first? They only had one take with him, right? Because he's not even really doing the voice they want him to be doing.
I don't know, man. That was just. I couldn't believe what I was watching. It was like the biggest pageantry car wreck I'd seen in a while.
What did you think about John Legend in the closing credits? I believe zooming from his house, a performance of the wedding song from the first movie.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy that?
That's really a lot of enjoyment to be had from that.
Did you watch it? Did you shut it off?
I did. No, I watched it. I watched it all the way to the end, man.
Yeah,
we got
too.
another joke from the Jewish.
Character. Yeah, we need to bring him back. Also, one last thing. Did you know that they shot all of the what's the country? I'm sorry.
Zamunda.
The Zamunda and quote unquote next Doria, the border country that Wesley Snipes. Did you know that they filmed all of that at Rick Ross's house in Texas?
I did not.
And that's why there's one scene with Wesley Snipes where Rick Ross is just there for no reason.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't know.
That was so weird to me. I was lucky because I was blown away by Rick Ross showing up. I couldn't understand why that was happening. And so I went, of course, to the Amazon Prime X-ray.
Yeah.
And they told me that it was his house.
Oh,
they shot it on Rick Ross's Texas estate, baby.
That's funny. Okay. Wow.
All right.
Interesting.
Fuck this movie, 1 star. Let's wrap it up. I rank them 1 and 2.
Correct.
Yeah.